There are people who become famous. There are people who become legends. And then, once in a generation, there comes a person whose spirit burns so brightly that even decades after they are gone, the world still feels their presence. Today, we tell the story of a young boy who was told he wasn't strong enough, a dreamer who crossed oceans with almost nothing, a fighter who refused to accept limits, a philosopher who challenged centuries of tradition, and a man whose life was tragically short, yet powerful enough to inspire billions. This is not simply the story of a martial artist. It is the story of resilience, of identity, of purpose, of becoming the strongest version of yourself. This is the story of Bruce Lee. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and join us as we explore the lives of history's most inspiring people. Now, take a deep breath and step into the extraordinary journey of the dragon. Chapter 1: The Child Who Belonged to Two Worlds. November 27th, 1940. The city of San Francisco was alive with possibility. The world, however, was moving toward uncertainty. War clouds gathered across continents. Nations trembled. And nobody knew that inside a Chinese hospital, a child had just entered the world who would one day change global culture forever. His name was Lee Jung-fan. The world would know him as Bruce Lee. But greatness rarely announces itself at birth. Bruce was not born a legend. He was born a baby, small, fragile, and completely unaware of the challenges waiting ahead. His father, Li Huichuan, was a famous Cantonese opera performer. His mother, Grace Ho, came from a respected family with both Chinese and European ancestry. From the very beginning, Bruce existed between worlds, East and West, tradition and modernity, acceptance and rejection. These tensions would shape his entire life. Soon after his birth, the family returned to Hong Kong. There, amid crowded streets and growing political uncertainty, Bruce spent his childhood. But life was far from easy. The Hong Kong of Bruce's youth was recovering from war. Poverty was everywhere. Violence was common. Opportunity was scarce. Children learned quickly that the world could be unforgiving. Bruce was no exception. As a boy, he possessed endless energy. Some might have called him difficult, others called him rebellious. Teachers often struggled to control him. He challenged authority, questioned rules, and refused to stay inside boundaries. What many saw as trouble was actually the first glimpse of something extraordinary. Because the people who change the world are often the ones who refuse to fit comfortably inside it. Chapter 2: The Fighter in the Streets. As Bruce entered his teenage years, life became increasingly turbulent. The streets of Hong Kong became his battlefield. Not because he wanted violence, but because violence surrounded him. Street gangs controlled neighborhoods. Fights erupted constantly. Respect was earned through strength, and young Bruce found himself drawn into conflict again and again. At first, fighting became a way to survive. Then it became something else. A test, a challenge, a search for identity. Every punch, every bruise, every confrontation seemed to ask the same question: who are you? And what are you capable of becoming? But beneath his tough exterior, Bruce was struggling. Like many young people, he felt misunderstood. He felt restless, as though something inside him was desperate to emerge. Yet he couldn't find the path. Not yet. And then fate intervened. His father made a decision that would alter history. Bruce would begin training under a martial arts master, a teacher named IP Man. The moment Bruce entered that school, everything changed. Chapter 3: The Master and the Student. Some encounters change a life, others change the world. The meeting between Bruce Lee and IP Man was both. Under IP Man's guidance, Bruce began studying Wing Chun. At first, martial arts seemed like combat training, but Bruce soon discovered something deeper. Martial arts wasn't merely about defeating opponents. It was about mastering yourself. The greatest enemy wasn't standing across from you. The greatest enemy lived inside you. Fear, doubt, anger, ego. Every lesson became a mirror. Every training session revealed weaknesses, and Bruce became obsessed. While others trained for skill, Bruce trained for understanding. He wanted answers. He wanted truth. He wanted to know how far human potential could go. Day after day, hour after hour, he pushed himself beyond exhaustion because something extraordinary was awakening inside him. A realization. Limits are often illusions. The body is capable of far more than we believe. The mind is capable of far more than we imagine. And greatness belongs to those willing to explore both. Years later, millions would quote Bruce Lee's wisdom. But these lessons were forged here, not under bright lights, not in movie studios, but inside a humble training hall where a determined young man refused to stop learning. Chapter 4. The Journey Across the Ocean. By the late 1950s, Bruce's life had reached a crossroads. His street fighting had become increasingly dangerous. His future in Hong Kong seemed uncertain. His parents faced a difficult decision. They would send him away, far away, across the Pacific Ocean, to America. Imagine that moment. A teenager standing at the edge of the unknown, leaving family, leaving friends, leaving everything familiar behind. No guarantees, no certainty, only possibility. Many people experience moments like this, moments when life asks them to leap before they feel ready. Most hesitate. Bruce didn't. In 1959, carrying little money and enormous dreams, he boarded a ship bound for America. He could not have known what awaited him. He could not have known that one day his name would echo through every continent on Earth. He only knew one thing. The life he wanted would require courage, and courage is moving forward despite fear, not without it. As the shores of Hong Kong disappeared behind him, Bruce stepped into the next chapter of his destiny. A chapter filled with loneliness, struggle, failure, and ultimately, transformation. The dragon was leaving home, but the legend had not yet begun. Chapter 5. Alone in America. America, a land of opportunity. At least, that's what people said. But for Bruce Lee, opportunity did not arrive with open arms. It arrived disguised as hardship. The young immigrant stepped onto American soil, carrying dreams far larger than his circumstances. He had little money, few connections, and no guarantee that his future would be any brighter than his past. The world often romanticizes success. What it rarely shows is the loneliness that comes before it. Bruce knew that loneliness well. He worked odd jobs, washed dishes, did whatever he could to survive. Some nights he wondered what would happen if he failed. Some days he questioned whether he truly belonged. Yet every challenge strengthened him. Every obstacle became another weight added to the barbell of his character. While others complained about difficulty, Bruce studied it. He believed adversity was not the enemy. Adversity was the teacher, and America had many lessons waiting for him. Chapter 6. The Search for Knowledge. Bruce eventually settled in Seattle. There, another side of him began to emerge. The world saw a fighter, but Bruce was also a thinker, a philosopher, a student of life. He enrolled in college and studied subjects that fascinated him: psychology, philosophy, history, human behavior. Questions consumed him. What makes people great? Why do some surrender while others persevere? What is the true purpose of martial arts? What does it mean to live fully? Bruce devoured books, hundreds of them, then thousands. His room became a library. Shelves overflowed with ideas. Eastern philosophy, Western philosophy, science, religion, literature. He searched everywhere for truth, because Bruce understood something many never discover. Physical strength without wisdom is incomplete. A powerful body means little if the mind remains weak. His famous words would later inspire millions. Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willing is not enough. We must do. Those words weren't theory. They were his life. Every day he transformed knowledge into action. Every day he became a little stronger, a little wiser, a little closer to the man he was meant to become. Chapter 7. The Young Teacher. Bruce soon discovered he possessed a gift, not simply for fighting, but for teaching. People were drawn to him. They sensed his passion, his energy, his authenticity. He began sharing martial arts with students. At first, the classes were small, simple, humble, yet Bruce taught with extraordinary intensity. He wasn't interested in creating followers. He wanted to create thinkers. Many martial arts schools emphasized tradition. Bruce emphasized effectiveness. Results mattered more than rituals. Truth mattered more than convention. Some admired this approach, others hated it, because whenever someone challenges old ideas, resistance follows. But Bruce never feared resistance. He welcomed it. Every criticism became fuel. Every obstacle became motivation. He taught students from all backgrounds, different races, different cultures, different walks of life. This was controversial. Some traditional practitioners believed martial arts knowledge should remain exclusive. Bruce disagreed completely. He believed wisdom belonged to everyone. Talent belonged to everyone. Human potential belonged to everyone. And he refused to let outdated beliefs stand in the way. Chapter 8. The Woman Who Believed in Him. Behind many extraordinary people stands someone who sees greatness before the world does. For Bruce Lee, that person was Linda Emery. They met while Bruce was teaching. Their connection was immediate, authentic, deep. Linda saw something special beneath Bruce's confidence. She saw the dreamer, the philosopher, the relentless seeker. Most importantly, she believed in him long before fame, long before fortune, long before the world knew his name. In 1964, they married. Together, they would build a life, a family, a future. There would be challenges, financial struggles, professional disappointments, moments of uncertainty. But Linda remained by his side, believing, supporting, encouraging. Years later, when the world celebrated Bruce Lee, few understood how important that support had been. Because even the strongest warriors need someone who believes in them when nobody else does. And Linda never stopped believing. Chapter 9. A Man Against Tradition. The more Bruce learned, the more he questioned. And the more he questioned, the more opposition he faced. Traditional martial arts systems often followed rigid rules, fixed forms, fixed techniques, fixed ways of thinking. Bruce saw a problem. Real life wasn't fixed. A fight wasn't fixed. Human beings weren't fixed. Why should martial arts be? He began developing ideas that challenged centuries of convention. Many considered him arrogant. Others considered him revolutionary. Bruce didn't care about labels. He cared about truth, and truth demanded evolution. One famous challenge changed everything. A confrontation with a traditional martial artist forced Bruce to examine his own beliefs. Although he won the fight, he was dissatisfied. Victory had taken too long, too much energy, too much effort. That realization sparked a revolution. Bruce decided martial arts must become simpler, faster, more direct, more adaptable. And from that philosophy, something extraordinary was born. Chapter 10. Jeet Kune Do. Bruce Lee was not interested in creating another style. He wanted freedom. Freedom from limitations. Freedom from rigid thinking. Freedom from unnecessary rules. And so he developed Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist. But Jeet Kune Do was more than martial arts. It was a philosophy for life. Absorb what is useful. Reject what is useless. Add what is uniquely your own. Simple words, yet they carried profound wisdom. Because Bruce understood something universal. Success does not come from copying others. Success comes from discovering who you truly are. Not becoming someone else. Not fitting into a mold. Not living according to expectations. But becoming fully yourself. This idea would resonate far beyond martial arts. Entrepreneurs embraced it, athletes embraced it, artists embraced it, millions embraced it. Because at its core, Bruce's message was not about fighting. It was about freedom. Freedom to grow. Freedom to adapt. Freedom to become. Chapter 11. Hollywood's Closed Doors. Despite his growing reputation, another battle awaited. Hollywood. Bruce dreamed of acting, not merely for fame, but because he believed stories could change people. He believed representation mattered. He believed Asian actors deserved meaningful opportunities. Unfortunately, Hollywood did not share that vision. Executives saw limitations. Bruce saw possibilities. Executives saw stereotypes. Bruce saw humanity. Again and again, doors closed. Again and again, opportunities disappeared. Again and again, he was told no. Many people would have accepted defeat. Bruce Lee did not, because rejection never determines your worth. It only reveals how badly you want something. And Bruce wanted it badly, very badly. The world wasn't ready for him, yet. But destiny was moving behind the scenes, preparing the stage, preparing the audience, preparing the moment when the dragon would finally rise. And when that moment arrived, nothing would ever be the same again. Chapter 12. The Green Hornet. Sometimes destiny arrives quietly, not as a triumph, not as a victory, but as a small opportunity that most people would overlook. For Bruce Lee, that opportunity came in the form of a television series. The year was 1966. The show was called The Green Hornet. Bruce was cast as Kato, the sidekick. Not the hero, not the star, just the assistant. At least, that was the plan. But there was one problem. Bruce Lee was impossible to ignore. The moment cameras began rolling, something extraordinary happened. Audiences couldn't take their eyes off him. His movements were unlike anything television had ever seen. Too fast, too precise, too powerful. Viewers watched in amazement. Who was this man? How could someone move like that? How could someone possess such presence? Bruce wasn't merely performing martial arts. He was redefining what human movement looked like. Every punch seemed alive. Every kick carried purpose. Every scene radiated energy. Ironically, the sidekick began stealing the spotlight. The dragon had entered television, and people noticed. Yet success remained frustratingly incomplete. The show lasted only one season. The opportunity vanished almost as quickly as it appeared. Once again, Bruce found himself standing between promise and disappointment, close enough to glimpse greatness, yet still unable to grasp it. Many would have considered this failure. Bruce saw it differently. He knew something important. The world had seen him. And once the world sees something extraordinary, it becomes impossible to forget. Chapter 13. Years of Frustration. The years that followed tested Bruce Lee in ways few people understood. To the outside world, he appeared successful. He taught martial arts, appeared on television, built a growing reputation. But inside, a storm was brewing. Bruce knew he was capable of more. Far more. He wasn't arrogant. He was aware of his potential, aware of his vision, aware of the impact he could make. Yet opportunity remained just beyond reach. Hollywood continued offering stereotypes, servants, villains, caricatures. Bruce refused. Again and again, he refused. Because some opportunities cost too much, and Bruce would not sacrifice his dignity for acceptance. The decision came with consequences. Money became tight, stress increased, responsibilities grew. His family depended on him, his students depended on him. The future remained uncertain. Yet, during these difficult years, Bruce continued working, continued learning, continued preparing. Because preparation is an act of faith. You prepare for opportunities you cannot yet see. You train for battles that have not yet arrived. You keep moving even when results are invisible. But Bruce trusted the process, and eventually, the process rewarded him. Chapter 14. The Man Who Couldn't Stop Learning. Most people stop growing when they achieve a certain level of success. Bruce Lee never did. His curiosity was endless. Every day he studied, every day he experimented, every day he searched. Friends often watched in amazement. While others relaxed, Bruce trained. While others celebrated, Bruce studied. While others slept, Bruce worked. He filled notebooks with observations, ideas, questions, insights. His thoughts moved constantly. Like water flowing through a river, he believed growth had no finish line, no final destination, only continuous evolution. One of his most famous philosophies emerged during this period. Be water, my friend. Simple words. Yet they contained an entire worldview. Water adapts, water flows, water changes shape, water survives. Bruce believed human beings should do the same. When life becomes difficult, don't become rigid. Become adaptable. When obstacles appear, don't break. Flow around them. The lesson wasn't about fighting. It was about life itself. And decades later, those words continue inspiring people around the world. Because every person faces obstacles. Every person experiences setbacks. And every person must learn how to flow through adversity. Chapter 15. The Return to Hong Kong. In the early 1970s, Bruce traveled back to Hong Kong. He expected little, perhaps some recognition, perhaps a few fans. Nothing more. What he discovered shocked him. The people already knew his name, while America had overlooked him. Hong Kong had embraced him. The television series The Green Hornet had become incredibly popular there. Crowds gathered, fans followed him. People treated him like a celebrity. For the first time, Bruce saw something clearly. Maybe the future he'd been searching for wasn't in Hollywood. Maybe destiny was calling him home. Soon, film producers approached him. They wanted movies, not supporting roles, not stereotypes. Leading roles, real opportunities, the kind Hollywood had never offered. Bruce accepted. And history changed forever. Chapter 16. The Big Boss. The film was called The Big Boss. The budget was modest. Expectations were limited. Few people predicted what would happen next, but Bruce believed. He always believed. The production wasn't easy. Long hours, difficult conditions, physical exhaustion. Yet Bruce gave everything, every scene, every movement, every ounce of energy, because he understood a fundamental truth. How you do anything is how you do everything. When the movie premiered, audiences were stunned. The response was immediate, electric, explosive. People had never seen anything like Bruce Lee. His intensity was real. His charisma was undeniable. His screen presence felt almost supernatural. Movie theaters overflowed. Records shattered. The film became a phenomenon. Almost overnight, Bruce Lee transformed from struggling actor into international star. Years of rejection suddenly gave way to recognition. Years of frustration suddenly made sense. The world had finally noticed what Bruce already knew. He was different. And difference, when embraced fully, becomes power. Chapter 17. Fist of Fury. Success can change people. Sometimes it makes them comfortable. Sometimes it makes them cautious. Bruce became neither. Instead, he became even more determined. His next film was Fist of Fury, and this time the impact went beyond entertainment. The movie touched something deeper. Pride, identity, respect. Generations of people saw themselves in Bruce Lee. They saw strength where society had shown weakness, confidence where society had shown doubt, dignity where society had shown prejudice. For many viewers, Bruce was more than a movie star. He became a symbol, proof that they could stand tall, proof that they could be seen, proof that they could matter. The emotional connection was powerful, because representation changes lives. Seeing someone who looks like you succeed can alter what you believe is possible. Bruce understood this responsibility, and he carried it proudly, not through speeches, not through politics, but through excellence, through relentless excellence. Chapter 18. The Dragon Rises. Film after film, success after success. The momentum became unstoppable. The Big Boss, Fist of Fury, The Way of the Dragon. Each project expanded his influence. Each success strengthened his legacy. And with every victory, Bruce pushed boundaries. He insisted on authenticity, demanded quality, refused compromise. His famous fight scene with a young martial artist named Chuck Norris inside Rome's Colosseum became legendary. Two warriors, two philosophies, one unforgettable confrontation. But beyond the spectacle, something deeper was happening. Bruce Lee was changing global culture. He was introducing martial arts to audiences who had never experienced them. He was reshaping perceptions, breaking stereotypes, opening doors, inspiring millions. The dragon was no longer rising. The dragon had arrived. And yet, his greatest achievement still lay ahead. A film that would unite East and West. A film that would immortalize his name forever. A film called Enter the Dragon. Bruce Lee had spent his entire life preparing for this moment. He just didn't know how little time remained. Chapter 19. Enter the Dragon. Every great story has a defining moment. A moment when preparation meets opportunity. A moment when years of struggle finally reveal their purpose. For Bruce Lee, that moment was Enter the Dragon. By 1973, he had become a superstar throughout Asia. His films shattered records, his name filled newspapers, his image appeared everywhere. Yet Bruce wanted more than success. He wanted connection. He wanted to build a bridge between worlds, East and West. Different cultures, different languages, different histories. He believed people had far more in common than they realized, and cinema could help them see it. Hollywood finally came calling, the same industry that had once overlooked him, the same industry that had questioned him, the same industry that had failed to recognize his potential. Now they wanted Bruce Lee. The dragon had become impossible to ignore, and together they began creating what would become one of the most influential martial arts films ever made. Enter the Dragon. Bruce understood the significance. This wasn't just another movie. This was a chance to change history. A chance to show the world who he truly was. A chance to leave something timeless behind. And so he poured himself into the project completely. Every scene, every movement, every detail, nothing escaped his attention. He demanded excellence, not because he was seeking perfection, but because he respected the audience. He respected the opportunity, and most importantly, he respected the dream. Chapter 20. The Cost of Greatness. Greatness has a price. The world celebrates victories, but it rarely sees the sacrifices behind them. By this point in his life, Bruce was pushing himself harder than ever. His schedule was relentless. Filming, training, writing, teaching, business meetings, interviews, travel, expectations, pressure, responsibility. It never stopped. People often assume extraordinary individuals possess unlimited energy, but they are human, just like everyone else. Bruce Lee was human, and his body was carrying an enormous burden. Friends noticed signs of exhaustion, weight loss, fatigue, moments when his energy seemed depleted. Yet Bruce continued moving forward. He had always believed in pushing beyond limits. Now, perhaps, he was pushing too far. Still, he refused to slow down, because there was always one more goal, one more challenge, one more mountain to climb. The same fire that had driven him toward greatness was demanding more and more from him. And sometimes the qualities that make a person extraordinary can also become their greatest burden. Chapter 21. The Philosopher. To understand Bruce Lee, you must look beyond the movies, beyond the martial arts, beyond the fame. At his core, Bruce was a philosopher, a seeker, a student of life. His notebooks reveal a man deeply concerned with meaning, purpose, growth, self-discovery. He believed life was not about finding yourself. Life was about creating yourself. Every decision mattered, every habit mattered, every thought mattered. He often wrote about fear, not because he was fearless, but because he understood fear intimately. He knew courage was not the absence of fear. Courage was action despite fear. He knew confidence wasn't something you were born with. It was something you built, day by day, choice by choice, challenge by challenge. Bruce's philosophy wasn't complicated, yet it was powerful. Be honest with yourself. Keep learning. Stay adaptable. Pursue excellence, live authentically, and never stop growing. These ideas continue inspiring people decades later because they speak to something universal: the desire to become more than we are today, the desire to fulfill our potential, the desire to live fully before our time runs out. Chapter 22. July 20th, 1973. No one knew it would be the final day. Not Bruce, not his family, not his friends, not the millions of people whose lives he would eventually touch. July 20th, 1973. The day began like many others. Meetings, discussions, plans for the future. Bruce was only 32 years old, still dreaming, still creating, still building, still moving toward new horizons. Then, suddenly, everything changed. That evening, Bruce Lee passed away. The news spread with unbelievable speed. At first, people refused to believe it. How could someone so alive be gone? How could someone so powerful disappear? How could a force of nature simply stop? Yet the truth remained. The dragon was gone. The world stood still, and millions mourned, not just a celebrity, not just a martial artist, but a symbol, a source of inspiration, a man who had made people believe in possibility. He was 32 years old, only 32. And yet in those brief years, he accomplished what many could not accomplish in a lifetime. Chapter 23. A World in Mourning. The grief was immense. Fans gathered, newspapers filled with tributes. Messages arrived from around the world. People cried, people reflected, people struggled to understand. Bruce Lee had become larger than entertainment, larger than sports, larger than cinema. He represented hope, and hope is difficult to lose. Yet something remarkable happened. Instead of fading after his death, his influence grew. The release of Enter the Dragon transformed him into a global icon. New audiences discovered his work. New generations discovered his philosophy. Children who had never met him became inspired by him. Athletes studied him. Actors admired him. Entrepreneurs quoted him. Artists learned from him. His physical life had ended, but his ideas continued traveling across the world, crossing borders, crossing cultures, crossing generations. The dragon had become immortal. Chapter 24. The Legacy. Today, decades after his passing, Bruce Lee remains one of the most recognizable figures in human history. His movies continue inspiring audiences. His philosophy continues guiding seekers. His words continue motivating dreamers. Why? Because Bruce Lee's story is not really about martial arts. It is about human potential. It is about refusing limitations. It is about challenging expectations. It is about becoming who you are meant to be. He taught us that strength begins within, that adaptation is power, that growth never ends, that failure is not final, that authenticity matters. Most importantly, he taught us that life is not measured by its length. It is measured by its impact. Bruce Lee lived only 32 years, yet his influence continues more than half a century later. That is the power of purpose. That is the power of conviction. That is the power of living fully. The Dragon's last lesson. Imagine Bruce Lee as a young boy in Hong Kong, restless, uncertain, searching. Imagine him boarding that ship to America, afraid yet hopeful. Imagine him facing rejection, criticism, failure, doubt. Imagine him refusing to surrender, again and again and again. Because that's where the real story lives. Not in the victories, not in the fame, not in the applause, but in the moments when quitting would have been easier, and he chose to continue. Every person watching this has their own battle, their own fear, their own uncertainty, their own mountain to climb. Bruce Lee's life offers a reminder. You do not need perfect circumstances. You do not need permission. You do not need guarantees. You simply need the courage to take the next step, and then another, and another, like water, flowing forward, adapting, growing, persisting, until one day you become the person you were meant to be. The dragon's final lesson is simple. Life is short. Dream boldly. Train relentlessly. Love deeply. Keep learning. And never allow the world to convince you that your limits are fixed, because they are not. They never were. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of Bruce Lee. If his story inspired you, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs a reminder of their own potential. Here, we explore the lives of extraordinary people whose stories continue to inspire generations. Until next time, keep moving forward. Keep growing, keep believing, and remember the words of Bruce Lee. Be water, my friend.